right, first off, I want to say praise the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everybody that's tuned in. And also, I'd like to welcome you to Precept University, where we study the Bible line upon line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little, from the book of Genesis all the way to the book of Revelation. And I'm just a man of God, and if you keep the commandments of God and the faith in Christ Jesus, I am your brother. So the title for today's lesson is The Dangerous Era of Clout Chasing. Again, the title of today's lesson is The Dangerous Era of Clout Chasing. You know what clout chasing is? Can you explain it a little bit or not really?
When somebody is trying to get, I can't explain it.
You can. I think you was on your way. You want to take a stab at it? It's cool.
When somebody's trying to get viewers and and they're letting the internet get to their head.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's just kind of like when somebody trying to get some attention. Yeah, that's what clout chasing is. And I pray that it's all people, all kind of people from all walks of life that are tuned into this channel, from the young to the old. So clout chasing is more of a term that the younger people might use right now. But as far as anybody that may be older, just another word for clout chasing would be like seeking external validation, like wanting to be seen or doing things. Like my teacher always says, people do a lot of times they do the right thing for the wrong reason. So people are like attention seeking. Like you even got some people that will feed the homeless or do any type of charity type of work just to be seen. Like they'll record it just so they can see, like, look at me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And this era is like notorious. This era that we living in right now, this era is notorious for that. And it's something that's like not really new under the sun. Because we actually gonna go into the Bible and see what people been clout chasing for a long time. But I think it's amped up. It's like ramped up now at this point in time because, like my son said, you got social media out there. You got, people are chasing likes, people are chasing comments, people are chasing views. And when you have that type of mentality, what's on people's mind is what they want to do is they want to impress other people. They not really it's on a whole nother level to where they not even concerned with impressing God. Like I got this saying I like to say all the time, sometimes somebody asks me how I'm doing or what I've been doing. It's like, man, I'm out here trying to impress Jesus. I'm trying to impress God. Like that's what it really should be all about. And a couple days ago, I was, if you look at this channel, you'll see that it just started. I believe this might be like the 4th or the 5th video. And me personally, like as far as the videos are concerned, I like to just get in here and do the work. And I'll have my wife upload them or something like that because I know it's a dangerous, it's a slippery slope. Because me personally, I grew up playing sports, so when you grow up playing sports or in the competition and stuff like that, it's always about, can I be better than this person? Or how many points did I score in a basketball game? Or how many touchdowns did I score in a football game? Even when we back in the day, we playing sports, you got kids that look up in the stands waving, especially little kids waving in the stands, look at me, look at me. But that's not how God wants us to behave ourselves. So I got about 3 scriptures to pretty much dive in on this topic. So as far as, what we're going to look at some wise advice from King Solomon as far as clout chasing is concerned, or like I said, another word for that would be external validation. So we're going to look at that. We'll get some wise advice from King Solomon on it. Also, we're going to look at an example of how it's a dangerous trap that you can fall into. And then last but not least, we're going to look at some advice from Jesus. We're going to get a stern warning from Jesus that's going to motivate us to stay away from clout chasing. So we're going to start this off at Proverbs chapter 25. And before we even go there, when I read this chapter earlier, I'm looking at it and I'm like, just speaking about sports, LeBron James is my favorite basketball player of all time. I think, a lot of people debate. A lot of people had a GOAT debate. So, and I've been thinking about like some of the rhetoric that's been in the sports world. And one thing, even though he's my favorite player, he's been kind of out of pocket because what he's been doing, at least over the past couple of years, is he's been proclaiming himself to be the GOAT, proclaiming himself to be the greatest of all time. And on the contrary, the people that they debate about, the individual, which is, none other than Michael Jordan, they kind of put them two together. Michael Jordan has never said anything like that. And MJ is in the sight, of what we can read biblically, MJ is doing right. And LeBron is, he pretty much putting himself on the pedestal. So this Proverbs 25 and verse 27. We're going to read Proverbs 25 and verse 27. When you get there, go ahead and read that, son.
It is not good to eat much honey, so for men to search their own glory is not glory.
So he said, it is not good to eat much honey. So for men to search their own glory is not glory. And that's just like a perfect example of what I was just saying about how, LeBron James been, moving a little bit, I mean, and then, people live and they learn, a lot of us got a lot of learning to do, but that's just something that I noticed. So he said, it's not good to eat much honey. Honey it's a sweet substance. It's, I would venture off to say that that's something that people ate a lot of, especially way back in this time. I'm pretty sure they probably ain't had no Laffy Taffies or nothing like that, or no Sour Patch Kids. This was probably the closest form of one of the closest forms of candy that you was gonna get to. So it's like if you eating a whole bunch of honey or if you eating a whole bunch of candy, yeah, it might taste good. Or in the clout chasing arena, people may chase clout, get it, and they may feel good, but at the end of the day, it's not good for you. It's gonna be to your detriment. So he said, it is not good to eat much honey. So he's making a comparison. So if it's not good to eat much honey, he's telling you a couple things that are not good. So it's not good to eat much honey, because what's probably going to happen if you eat a whole bunch of honey or a whole bunch of candy, you probably going to end up throwing it up. It ain't going to be good when it's all said and done. So it says, so for men to search their own glory is not glory. It's another proverb. I believe it's Proverbs 27 between verses 1 and 2. It says, let another man praise thee and not thine own mouth, a stranger and not thine own lips. So that's how we should be moving according to that. But let's keep going though. We're going to look at an example of how dangerous of a trap that this is that you could fall into. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 18. Because like we said, we in a time to where social media is real big. People got social media accounts. People are, they go overboard about likes and comments and views and etc. And I would venture out to say, we getting ready to see something with King Saul. But if King Saul was living right now, he'll probably have that same mentality. People that are clout chasing or worried about likes and views and being seen or whatnot. So we're going to read 1 Samuel chapter 18 and we're going to go 6 through 11. So you're going to pick it up right there. We're going to go 6 all the way to verse 11. And like I said, this is probably something that King Saul would have got caught up in. So 1 Samuel 18, pick it up at verse 6. When you get there, go ahead and read that.
And it came to pass as they came when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the woman came out of all cities of Israel and singing and dancing.
Okay, so just to give a little background information, this is after King David had defeated Goliath. You know, everybody was scared to face Goliath, but King David actually stepped up and took down Goliath, and pretty much through the power of God helped save that whole nation, helped save the whole nation of Israel. So they got a great victory, and this is why the women are singing and dancing. So it says they were returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the women came out of all cities of Israel singing and dancing. And who were they coming to meet? Go ahead.
To meet King Saul with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music.
Okay, so we got these women, they singing and dancing, but they came out to meet King Saul. You know, Saul is the king at this point. David was the one, David was the one that we're going to see that David was the one that's getting all the notoriety. Let's pick it up at verse 7. Go ahead.
And the women answered one another as they played and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s.
So this kind of reminds me of how, like, you probably ain't never seen it, but you go to a high school game and you got the cheerleaders and they doing like a chant. This kind of what that remind me of. Because it said the women answered one another as they played, and they said, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000. So it's kind of like you didn't bench anybody that's, especially if you came up in like the mid 90s or early 90s, you can hear this at any type of sports event. It's like Saul slayed his thousands, David slayed his 10,000. Like that's how they would chant back and forth to one another. So that's kind of what that reminds me of. But anyway, what we getting at is that these women, they got, if this was sports, those would be the statistics. It's like Saul, he slayed thousands, David slayed 10,000. So obviously David slayed a lot more people, And what we don't want to get caught up in is comparing ourselves with one another, comparing ourselves according to, or measuring ourselves according to what someone else is doing. Like even Paul said over there in one of the letters to the Corinthians, that he said that they that compare themselves amongst themselves are not wise. Because like we gonna see throughout this lesson, that it could be to your detriment, clout chasing, or just paying attention to the numbers, or trying to impress people instead of trying to please God. Because when you look at the background information of what happened in that whole instance with David killed Goliath, everybody was scared. David had the courage to step up. He glorified God even before he took on Goliath. He was glorifying God. He knew where his strength come from. He was just trying to take care of God's business. That Israel is a nation. Israel is actually the apple of God's eye. You can see that quoted over there in Zechariah, I believe it's chapter 2. Israel is the apple of God's eye. And obviously David knew that. David was trying to step up and protect God's nation. And he did that. So, at this point, David ain't worried about the numbers. He's just trying to please God. And that's what we need to take from this. Read verse 8. Go ahead.
And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him.
So it says Saul was very wroth. In other words, Saul was angry. That's what that means. Saul was angry. Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said what?
And he said, they have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands, and what can he have more but the kingdom?
Okay, so Saul is upset. Now everybody's in a good mood. The nation has been saved. It's like an NBA team winning the championship, and you got a guy that scored 45 points and hit the game-winning shot. But then you got another guy that he could be the star of the team. He might have scored 20 points and had a bad fourth quarter. So he's upset that he didn't hit the game winning shot or he didn't have more points, but the team won. See, Israel was victorious. But what we can see right here is that Saul's heart is not in the right place. He's more worried about, what the women said, the numbers that they put out there. And it's true. It says Saul has slayed his thousands and David slayed his 10,000s. But just that little bit of information right there, them women saying that, it sent Saul on a downward spiral for a long time. And we're going to see that. Because what happened after that? Verse 9.
And Saul eyed David from that day and forward.
So it says Saul eyed David from that day forward. He had a problem with David. It even said in the previous verse, he said, they have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands, and what more can he have but the kingdom? So his mind is racing. His mind is going all over the place because of jealousy or because of envy. So it said he eyed David from that day forward. So he's like, man, this dude, he's trying to take the kingdom from me. But all David was doing was the Lord's work, pretty much. Verse 10.
And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand as at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand.
Okay, so we can see right here in verse 10, it said after that, an evil spirit. It said God has sent the evil spirit upon Saul. So, and that's a scary thing. If God sent a certain type of spirit, he gonna let it stick as long as he wanted to stick. That's what's scary. That's why we gotta be mindful of, showcasing the fruits of the spirit. That envy, like that's one of those things that even somebody may have it. And even if you are an envious type person, you can repent from that. But if you see that your mind is in the wrong place, that's why the book tells us to examine ourselves. We gotta hurry up and check that. And Saul did not do that. So it said David was playing with his hand because David was around Saul, and he played the harp. One thing David would do, he'd be around Saul, and Saul was already going crazy. Saul was he was a very stubborn individual. He wasn't listening. So Saul was already messed up. And, knowing that in the background information, as far as some background information is concerned, David was getting ready to be king at some point anyway. So David is in the house. He's playing the instrument with his hand, and Saul had a javelin in his hand. So he was already getting ready to go crazy. So man, why you walking around with a javelin in your hand? But go ahead.
And Saul cast a javelin, for he said, I will smite David, even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice.
Try to make a shish kebab out of David. You know what a shish kebab is? It's like a type of food, but you like stick the I don't know what they call it, like a wooden stick. You stick you stick it through the meat. You have a whole bunch of meat on the stick. Yeah, you may have some steak on there or some chicken on there or something like that. So he was going, the javelin is just like a long, sharp object. And that's what he tried to do just because he was jealous of David. Why was he jealous of David? Because of the numbers. Because of the numbers, and he wasn't getting attention, or he wasn't getting the notoriety that he thought he should get, because, Saul was king, but David was getting all the attention. Everybody was praising David. But they came out to meet Saul too, though. So, but once Saul heard those numbers, it's just kind of like now, people are so caught up in numbers, caught up in likes, people even buy things just to impress people. People buy very expensive shoes, very expensive cars. just to impress people and end up going broke trying to impress people. But who do we need to be trying to impress? We need to be trying to impress God. Let's go to the last scripture. This is Matthew chapter 6. We're going to look at a stern warning from Jesus, though, about this. Let's go to Matthew chapter 6. And we're going to see what Jesus said about clout chasing or trying to be seen. That's something we don't want to do. Matthew chapter 6, and we're going to go 1 through, let me see, we're going to go 1 through 6. Matthew chapter 6, and pick it up at verse 1. When you get there, go ahead.
Take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them.
Okay, so Jesus is giving us some advice, some great spiritual advice. He says, take heed or listen that you do not your alms before men. What are alms? Alms is like anything you might do for somebody out of the kindness of your heart. You should be doing it out of the kindness of your heart. Anything like loaning somebody some money or, helping somebody move. Anything that you may be doing for somebody else to help them out. Some people may help somebody out, like I was mentioning earlier. Some people will feed the homeless, but they'll be doing it to be seen of men. So it said, take heed that you do not your alms before men to be seen of them. Go ahead.
Otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore, when thou dost thine alms, do not sound the trumpet before thee.
So he said, if you doing your alms before men, you're not going to have no reward. He said, otherwise you have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Because at the end of the day, we looking for a reward, but we're not looking for a reward from men, or we're not looking for the reward of validation, or we're not looking for the reward of clout. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's not what we should be looking for. In verse 2, it says, therefore, when thou doest thine alms, or you doing something for somebody, do not sound a trumpet before thee. Like, you ain't got to be all loud about it. You don't have to record everything. You don't have to prove to nobody that you look out for people. God can see what you are doing. So he said, that's why he said, do not sound a trumpet before thee. You don't have to be all loud about it. Go ahead.
As the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men.
They trying to be glorified by men. You see that? Go ahead.
Verily,
he said,
I say unto you, they have their reward.
So you don't want your reward to be glory of men, because at the end of the day, man can't let you in the kingdom or send you to the lake of fire. So who should we be trying to impress?
God.
We should be trying to impress God. Man can't really do much of nothing. He could say something, or man can say some things that might throw you off, but man can't really do nothing. Or their opinions. Man has opinions that don't really matter. Whose opinion matters? God's opinion matters. That's what matters. Verse 3.
But when thou dost alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand does.
Go ahead.
That thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly.
He said, so the alms, he said, the alms that you do when you doing things for somebody, do them in secret. You ain't got to let everybody know what you're doing. If you looking out for somebody, you can loan somebody $10,000. You ain't got to tell nobody about it. You don't even have to bring it up to them again, because we should be doing things out of the kindness of our heart. So he said that thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret. See, the Lord sees everything. He can even see whether you are doing it out of a pure heart or not. Like if you really want to do it, like if you really trying to look out for somebody. So, and then when he sees what you are doing, it said he's going to reward you openly at the end of verse 4. Read verse 5.
And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray, standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men.
See, their whole objective is to be seen. Just like this era that we in right now, everybody's objective is to be seen or to be liked or to get views or to get a bunch of comments or to get an applause from everybody or to go viral. That's what everybody want to do. Everybody want to go viral. People are not doing things out of the kindness of their heart. So it's clout chasing is dangerous. We see what happened to Saul for clout chasing. An evil spirit was sent on him. Read the end of that verse 5.
Of men, verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet.
You ain't gotta be seen, and that's really what it's getting down to. You don't have to do anything to be seen. You should not be clout chasing. Go ahead.
To pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly.
So that's all we got for today, and I pray that everybody was edified to the fullest extent. But before we go, let's look at Luke chapter 15 real quick. I always like to go to this. Luke chapter 15, and I'm going to read this. Luke chapter 15 and 10. It says, likewise, I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner that repenteth. So I always like to go there and encourage anybody that may be watching to at least share this with at least one person. Share this with at least one person. And I thank you for your time. University.